The Woman in the Yard is a 2025 American film directed by Jaume, Collet-Serra, and stars Danielle, Deadwyler, Okwui, Okpokwasili, Peyton Jackson, Estella, Kahiha, and Russell Hornsby. After suffering a family trauma, a woman and her two kids try to pick up the pieces of their lives as a strange woman shows up in their yard seemingly out of nowhere. Now, before I get into the actual movie, I want to preface this with the fact, I guess it's kind of a story, but let's just call it a fact, that I had to completely change my original review after doing some research and reading about the end of this film. Basically, the entire last act, I think. And it woke me up to some things. The fact that I missed a whole bunch of things in this film. Basically, a lot of shit just went right over my head, and it really bugged me, the fact that I let that happen. I felt kind of, I'll be honest, like I felt kind of defeated, you know, like maybe I can't review more heady movies, or maybe this was too smart for me, this one. So I just stewed on it for a while until I just could try and make some sense of the whole situation. So I guess you could say this is going to be kind of a weird review, or it already is. And it might turn out to be a mess. I don't know, but I'm okay with that. And the reason for that, though, I gotta say, the reason for all of that, I just didn't really like this movie. That really was the problem. I just had a hard time paying attention at certain points. It isn't a bad film, objectively speaking, of course, but it isn't for me. But we'll get to that. So anyway, so you get a peek into the lives of a struggling family. Ramona was recently in a car accident which actually killed her husband and left her with a broken leg. I think it's broken. She's living in a fixer-upper house out in the middle of nowhere, and now with no money. So this is all incredibly generic. It's a premise that we've already seen 1,000 times and not executed with any style or feeling, really. The acting, solid across the board, really no weak links. Everyone pulls their weight, in my opinion, but nobody stands out either. And I think there's a few reasons for that. And that being the script, it just isn't very good. It's not a good script. The characters are written so cliche. I mean, Danielle Deadwyler does give a pretty good performance. Like I said, everyone here is good. They didn't have a lot to work with, I don't think. I'm going to say the word generic so many times in this review. I mean, the story itself here is, and I'll get to it, it is ambitious. It's very ambitious, but there are too many flaws here to make that ambitiousness really, work in their favor. And I really hate to pick on people, especially someone trying to, establish themselves. And this is Sam Stefanak's screenwriting debut for a feature. And don't get me wrong, as I said, the script is very ambitious, and it's ultimately very dark. It tackles themes of depression and suicide. I don't know. I guess I'm not supposed to say that word, but too late. And what it's like to just feel like you're drowning, in your own mind. And this is kind of where the script really doesn't work, and the inexperience of the writer shows. So I don't bring this up very often. I have before, but I don't do it often. But I've suffered from depression for my whole life, literally my whole life. I'm 42 years old now. And normally, movies with topics like this will really hit me hard. And I just didn't feel that here, almost at all. And that bums me out, in a way. So basically, artistically, I don't think this ultimately works the way it was intended to. Then I have to address my issue with the way Blumhouse chose to market this. Combined with a, generically tame trailer and the PG-13 rating, this would seem like a simple, entry-level horror film. And it really isn't that at all, man. It isn't. First of all, it's not scary, despite having a cheap fucking jump scare every 5 minutes. So the only scares here, in my opinion, are ones that aren't earned. And the only other people in the theater with me were teens, probably anywhere from 13 to 16, I'd say. So the marketing clearly worked, whether it was intentional or not. I think a film with incredibly dark themes like this should not come with a PG-13 rating. So I don't understand that decision at all. I think it's not only stupid, but a little bit irresponsible. And I also think that this movie is almost great, but it makes so many mistakes. Like it's got major pacing issues. that just bored me to tears and made me not care. And that's a huge problem. I mean, there are scenes that drag on for so long where it just made me want to just like, if I had hair, I'd want to pull it out, man. Yemi Collet-Serra, is a capable director, but I don't think he was the guy for the job. I don't think he was the right person at all for a film like this. And one reason I say that is because, I mean, we had, Paweł Pogorzelski as cinematographer here, who worked on modern classics like Midsummer, Hereditary, and Beau's Afraid, but his style just wasn't properly utilized. He wasn't directed. He didn't. I think his partnership, with the director, it just didn't work out. The actors, I think, were poorly directed. So I'm giving The Woman in the Yard a 5 out of 10. I initially wanted to give it a lower score. Then I kind of wanted to give it a higher score, and I just settled on a 5 because this film is just riddled with issues. I don't see myself ever watching it again. I might, at the same time though, I could see myself giving it like one more watch, maybe a couple years down the line. I mean, I could honestly see this movie gaining more appreciation over time, but for now it seems to be bombing in theaters. I feel like this film is more about what could have been and not so much what it actually is. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.